You are 20, and the man who bought you this morning paid the price of a small house. This is your life as a Roman gladiator, from the lowest rank to the highest, and the arithmetic is simple. You are worth a building now, and most of you will not see 30. The barley they push into your hands is real. The roof, the brothers, the fame that is coming, all of it real. So is the gate at the far end of the yard that opens only one way. Somewhere 3 stalls down, a man is already asleep who will one day stand across the sand from you with a blade in his hand. You will eat beside him for 2 years before you learn which one he is. At the far post, an older fighter scrapes his bowl clean with a finger that will not straighten. Watch that finger. It is the whole story. Level 1. The Oath. They give you words before they give you a blade. You stand in the dust of the ludus, the fighting school, and you swear the sacramentum, the gladiator's oath, and there are 4 promises inside it. To be burned, to be bound, to be beaten, to be killed by the sword. You agree to all 4 out loud. That is the rent on the roof over your head. And there is a roof. There is a bowl in your hands every single day, which is more than the free poor of Rome can say. There are men who clap your shoulder and learn your name by the end of the week. Then you understand a thing the arena never puts on a poster. This is the first place that has ever wanted you alive. You cost the price of a house, and nobody spends a house and lets it rot in a field. At the far post sits the old fighter with the crooked hand. The others call him Faustus. 68 men like him were dug out of a pit outside Ephesus in 1993. Most of them dead between 20 and 30, their bones still holding the shape of how they died. Tonight, Faustus is only showing you how to hold a shield, his bent finger tapping the rim as he talks. He is not yet a warning. He is just a man who has lasted. Learn the shield. The shield is the easy part. Level 2. The stake. You are a Tiro now, a trained recruit who has not yet fought, and you spend your days attacking a wooden post driven into the ground. The post is called a palus. Remember that word, because the whole ladder you're climbing is named after it. Your rank, when you finally earn one, will be measured in how close you stand to the first stake. They feed you like an animal being readied for something. Barley, beans, barley, beans, a gray mash of it twice a day. The Romans have a mocking name for men like you. Hordearii, the barley eaters. You are getting fat on it, and that is the point. The fat is armor. A layer of it over the muscle means a slash opens the skin and bleeds bright for the crowd without cutting anything that kills you. You are being grown soft on purpose so that you can bleed beautifully and live. There was a physician who spent 3 years patching men like you in the schools at Pergamon, and his name was Galen, and he thought your diet was contemptible. He said it built flabby bodies, not strong ones. He was right, and it did not matter, because your body was never being built for you. It was being built for the seats. Still, there is something here you did not expect. In the evening, the men share the same gray bowl and the same bad jokes. They bury their own dead with money from a common fund. When one of them cannot sleep, another sits up with him. It is a family. It is the truest family some of these men have ever had. That is the trap. Faustus sees it. He taps his crooked finger and says nothing. Level 3. First Blood. The night before your first fight, they lay out a feast. It is called the Cena Libera, the free meal, and it is the best food you have ever seen in your life. And every man at the table knows exactly why it is so good. Strangers wander in off the street to look at you eating, the way you would look at a horse before a race. Some of them are placing bets on which of you will be alive tomorrow. You eat beside the brother you trained with. You do not talk about the odds. The odds, if you want them, are roughly 1 in 9 that any given fight ends in a death. Then it is morning, and the gate lifts, and you walk out onto the sand, ready to hate the man they send against you. He is wearing the mark of your own school. He trained at the stake beside yours. The Romans do this on purpose. A writer named Juvenal noticed that even in the barracks, the fighters are kept in their separate ranks, kept apart, saved up. They keep opponents from knowing each other too well right up until the moment the gate opens. So the enemy across the sand was never a stranger. The enemy was always going to come from inside the family. That gray shared bowl, that common burial fund, those men who sat up with you at night. You were all being fattened in the same pen, side by side. For this, you win. That is the only reason you are still reading your own story. You are a veteraness now. Level 4, the verdict. Winning changes everything, and this is the part nobody warns you about, because it is the part that feels good. You climb the ranks. 4th stake, 3rd, 2nd. You get a better cell. You get coins, and they gather in the corner of that cell with nothing in this school you're allowed to spend them on. Somewhere in a town like Pompeii, a boy scratches a fighter's name into a wall and writes that the girls sigh over him. That could be your name now. For the first time in your life, thousands of people know it and shout it. The reward is real. That is what makes it work. But you also learn how the killing is actually decided, and it is not by the blade. Faustus taught you this part himself, months back, the small lift of the finger that tells the crowd a man yields. He did not mention that it does not always work. When a man is beaten, he lifts one finger. That is all. One raised finger, ad digitum, means he yields and asks to be spared. Then the crowd decides his worth. Mitte, they shout, let him go if he fought well. Jugula, they shout, cut his throat if he bored them. And the man paying for the games watches which noise is louder and turns his hand. And a life ends or does not end on the angle of a stranger's thumb. One afternoon, you are the one standing over a man with his finger in the air. He is looking up at you, and he is asking you, personally, not to. And the hand in the stands turns down. You receive the iron. You do it the way you were taught, quickly, so it is clean. You will tell yourself he was a stranger. If you have ever done a thing you were trained to do and could not take back, you know how little that helps. Level 5. The first stake. You reach the top. Primus palus, the first stake, the best of your kind in the whole school. And at the top, at last, someone mentions the thing you have dreamed about since the oath. The rudis. A plain wooden sword, handed to a fighter the day he is set free. Freedom is real. It exists. Men have held it. There is a legend the school tells about a fighter called Flamma, a Syrian, whose gravestone still stands in Sicily. He fought 34 times, won 21, drew 9, and was spared 4 times, and he died at 30, and his stone was paid for by a comrade named Delicatus. For centuries, people have said Flamma was offered his freedom 4 times, and turned it down every time because he loved the arena too much to leave. The stone does not say that. It says he was spared 4 times, which means 4 times he lost and was allowed to live. The refusing freedom part came later, added by people who wanted the cage to be a choice. Once, and it seems only once, 2 men named Priscus and Verus fought to an exact draw at the opening of the Colosseum in the year 80. The crowd loved them so much that the emperor freed them both on the spot. A poet wrote it down because it had never happened before. That is your hope then. Not skill, not survival. A crowd loving you enough on the right day to let 2 men leave alive. Faustus was never handed the rudis either. Nobody ever offered it to him, and he stopped waiting for it so long ago that the waiting had become the man. You are worth more now than you have ever been worth. And a machine does not free its most valuable part. Finale. The gate. You watch Faustus fight his last one from the edge of the sand. He is old for this, and the crowd knows it, and the noise turns against him early. He is down. He lifts his hand to yield, to ask them for the mercy he has earned across 100 fights. The finger will not straighten. The one gesture that could save his life, and his own body cannot make it. The blade comes. A man dressed as the ferryman of the dead walks out and strikes Faustus once on the head with a mallet, to be sure. Then they drag him through the far gate, the Porta Libitinaria, the door named for the goddess of funerals, into the stripping room beyond. It is the gate that only opens one way. You knew that on the first morning. You just thought it was for other men. They dig you up together in the end, you and Faustus and the barley and the 68, into one pit outside a city that forgot your names. That is what this life was. Not chivalry, not glory. A very expensive animal, kept alive exactly as long as it was worth keeping. If this one stayed with you, subscribe and stay a while. There are more nights like this coming. You want to believe the arena rewarded skill, that the strong walked free. It did not. It was a market. You were the stock. The only real mercy in it was the kind you could never earn. The man you trained beside for years, who lived to old age only because the two of you were never once matched. In the yard the next morning, a new man is standing in the dust. He is about 20. Someone puts a bowl of barley in his hands and points him toward the lowest post, the fourth stake, and tells him to begin. It always begins at the fourth stake. He does not know yet what the stakes are named for.